So today we talk about Dr. Mundo skins and basically talk about their little features, maybe a little bit of their history, their legacy, and all that good stuff. And then I'm going to rank them from the worst to the best. And Dr. Mundo is an interesting one because he's actually one of the champions with the most skins in the game, at least in comparison towards a lot of other champions, York. So yeah, Dr. Mundo. Though I will point out that most of his stuff kind of starts off with just giving Dr. Mundo a costume change and then just throwing stuff at him. And they're divided into three different kinds of Dr. Mundo skins. One is just pure costume change, aesthetics change. You'll see which ones I mean, and you can probably already guess which ones they are. The other ones are just the mild upgrades, just maybe slightly better textures and slightly different sound effect with his cleaver, and then everything else is kind of the same. And then the huge increase in quality when it comes to Mundo skins, at least having visual effects changes to most of his abilities, added recall and whatnot. So yeah, his skins are basically split into those three. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this video because I actually really do enjoy making these. Also keep in mind that aside from the intro and the outro, this video is mostly unscripted. So I enjoy making it better that way, and it makes it more personal. And I hope it doesn't bother you too much. Well, the first skin up is the Toxic Dr. Mundo skin, which is green. Yay. Well, in its fairness, it's one of the first skins ever made. And calling it a skin now is kind of a weird thing because it's basically just a chroma. And that's pretty much it. I don't know what you want me to say. Again, you get some kind of points for picking something so old and ugly. Because, I still get people telling me, oh my god, King Rammus' skin is so cool, but King Rammus is just a Bowser looking thing and it's not that great. And same thing with Toxic Dr. Mundo. It's just that people want to see something that very few people have now for some reason. So, well, much like Toxic Mundo, Mr. Mundoverse is pretty much just the same thing, except, a blue skin color and, again, wearing some gym clothes. The only real good thing about it now is that you get some legacy ego boosting, but other than that, it's just kind of like mediocre. I only really use it for that reason, so people can be like, oh my god, you have Mr. Mundoverse, yay, it's cool to see. But other than that, it's just like, Corporate Dr. Mundo. So Corporate Mundo was one of the first legendaries ever made by Riot, and honestly, I'm going to say it is probably one of the best legendaries still in the game. It has a lot of things that basically became staple for legendaries in the future. He has idle animations, he has altered voice lines, and a lot of them are still real funny. And I know Gentleman Cho'Gath had altered voice lines, but Dr. Mundo's are just a lot more funnier and varied. Come on, look at that. The idle animation is real funny, I just love that. When you throw your cleaver, it's just a whole different kind of lines. It's just the goofiness. Of course, the only real thing that's different for him is let's call it the little upvotes he gets, or the stocks going up. But I think that came with the visual update, those little tiny thingies. And he throws a suitcase instead of a cleaver. Everything else is just kind of the same. So, and visual effects wise, it got some bonuses, or at least some boons compared to others. But the real value of it comes from the voice lines and just the auto animations and just the kind of absurdity about it. I really do miss when Riot released more jokey skins. I know they do that every now and then, but in the past it was a lot more common. But yeah, Corporate Mundo is probably one of his best skins, and still one of the best skins, in my opinion, in the game, simply because it aged. If you bought it a long time ago, it aged really, really well, in comparison to a lot of skins, at least. So next one up is Mundo Mundo. So I think, if I'm correct, this one came out the same year as Corporate Mundo, but for the Halloween event. And you can kind of tell they just took Mundoverse and put stuff on top of him, like the Hulk gloves. You can see they sort of go into his body because I guess just attached it to the frame of Mundoverse. So it's like and it doesn't really have anything unique other than the squeaky sound from his cleaver, and because it's a fake cleaver for Halloween cosplay. Unfortunately, when you just auto attack, you don't get that sound. You get like an actual cleaver. So it's not really consistent with that, and no other visual effects or whatever. Its bonus does come from the fact that it's a cheap skin that you can buy. It aged moderately well, I guess you could call it that. Mostly because it's just a Mundo with the joke of him wearing, or that he's so dumb he took the same costume as he is. So it's just like whatever, and it doesn't cost that much, so but it is sort of in line with another skin that's going to come up next in a little bit, that about altering only one thing about it, but does it a little bit better than this one. So this one is an okay skin, but I would say it's one of the lower Dr. Mundo skins right now. Now, for one of the weirder releases of, well, any skin ever made, BDSM Mundo, aka actually named Executioner Mundo. It really came out of nowhere. So I remember when this came out, like they were just making skins every week, and so it just, you could sneak peek them if you went through your client and found them, and this just sort of popped at the middle of the week out of nowhere for like 750 RP, and people were confused. It was just like they didn't announce it really, or they didn't even try to hype it up. It was just kind of there. It doesn't have anything unique to it. So the axe is the only thing that's kind of there, as a uniqueness. You throw a giant little axe. Again, that's just kind of it. It's Executioner Mundo, whatever you would want to call it. Although, with the splash art, the way it looks, it did get the whole nickname BDSM Mundo, and I guess you can just make jokes like "hit me harder, daddy" or whatever, and there's novelty in that. But it's a thing that exists. Well, his next skin up is Rageborn Mundo, and much like Mundoverse and Toxic Mundo and what are the Executioner Mundo, he doesn't have anything unique to him in terms of visual effects, sounds, or anything like that. He is just a regular skin. However, what it is good about it, at least, is that if you like Warcraft, it's a reference to the orcs after they drank the demon blood and became all red and angry and chaotic. And even if you don't like that, it's actually very visually pleasing. Armored Mundo, or at least half armored, barbaric armored, or whatever you want to call it, Mundo. Red, it pops out after the visual rework he had a while back. It really looks detailed and good. It's just a pretty good skin in terms of just, again, visualness. So if you just care for some people just like some skins for having a costume, and as a costume to the champion, this is really good. Out of all the it's simply an aesthetics change skins that Dr. Mundo has, this one's probably the one at the top. Next one up is TPA Mundo. So this one is actually pleasing to look at, and instead of just, taking something that already existed like Mundoverse and then just putting stuff on him, it does look like they did take the regular base Mundo, but they still changed enough of the, regular textures to make him a little bit more unique. Like, the details on his arms look way better. He's got an angrier face, doesn't have the tongue sticking out, and he always has the whole TPA getup going. It's much in line with the Mundo skin, in which it's pretty much the same thing. All effects are, the same as any Mundo skin. And, obviously throws a trophy. And that's it. But when he throws a trophy, you do get the clang of the trophy button, so it's pretty good on that note. And that's, kind of it. Everything else is pretty much the same. So if you put Mundo and Mundo and this one together, this one looks better. And I guess if you're going to go for the cheaper skins, well, they're, you can't really buy them all year round. You would probably, at least in my opinion, want to pick this one simply because it looks kind of better. And it does have that kind of, I guess, legacy status about it, being one of the more infamous games in League of Legends professional history. So, well, there's that, right? Next one up is one of his best skins, Pool Party Dr. Mundo. Basically, they make him look like a super, lame-o tourist. Tribal tattoos. I'm just, going on my Hawaii vacation after my whole corporate year, that kind of stuff. And, aside from the cleaver changes to, obviously just throwing the ukulele as other skins are doing, his fire instead has a little sun revolving around him, and I guess a different tint to sort of indicate that this might be sand instead. But, other than that, that's just kind of it. But it does have two really funny things about it. Whenever you hit somebody, you get a little twang from the ukulele. Twang. And the recall is one of the funnier ones in the game, at least in my opinion. Again, that's just pretty comedy. I love this skin just because it's very jokey. If it's in the whole line of Dr. Mundo just being kind of a weird, klutzy guy, I like it. And I think it's, one of his better ones. It's a pool party. It fits it really well. It's one of the lower cost ones, I believe. So, it's just nice. Now for Macho Mundo, which I think is a bit of a misrepresentation. I know they were going with the whole luchador thing, Mexican luchador thing, but he looks very much like Ultimate Warrior, So instead of being a Mexican wrestler, he's more like a North American cocaine-filled wrestler. So, anyways, this is part of the skins, well, the most recent two skins in Dr. Mundo's line that gets a huge jump in quality from the rest. And by that I mean he actually has some visual effects in his other abilities. So W now has little fisty gloves. Yay! I mean, technically, Pool Party Mundo had a different little thing, but the scope is a little bit different. Anyways, fisty gloves is fire. Even his E, it's the physical thing, has a different glow than usual. So he gets to do, I guess, a little bit more. His ultimate has a weird little wrestling ring pop up for like a couple seconds, and that's kind of it. Then goes to the regular glow. He, instead of cleavers, he throws a championship belt, and that's kind of it. I think it switches around. Yeah, it switches around between belt, chair, and a bell, and just basically hardcore weapons. It is a little disappointing just that you can't get a consistent sound with him. Because some of the items he picks up just has, a regular cleaver sound. But when you get the bell, you get the bell sound. I kind of wish, every one of them had a different one. Maybe the belt had a more thud. The barbed wire bat had, a clubby or the regular cleaver sound as a cut. And then, of course, just the bell. Bing. Hell, I would have been fine if it was just pure bell, so I could constantly be hearing that bing. And of course, he also has a unique recall, which is funny, especially if you're a wrestling fan. Because, he was more playing the Ultimate Warrior was more like a really, really crazy wrestler. So you got that going for you. So, again, Dr. Mundo's whole skin thing is just having different costumes. And this one follows that trend. It's a pretty good one, a really funny one. It's a pretty popular one. Plus, this is technically one you can argue that Mundo doesn't have a different skin color, quote unquote, because base Mundo's skin color turned after his horrible experiments went wrong, and this one you could just say, oh, it's after he got a tan, so technically regular skin color, so, kind of. Alrighty then, so for the next one up is Frozen Mundo, which is the most recent Mundo skin to come out, and by all means it's pretty much the best Mundo skin, straight out. Spoiler alert in the tier list. Everybody knew this answer was coming, but they really improved their game with this latest Mundo. So, Mundo's kit is very simple, we all know that, so there's very little to play with. But they decided to go full out on this one, and it has a funny theme. So imagine you're a princess, you're trapped in an ice castle, you're like, when will my prince come? And, you hear some battle go on there, in the lower floors, and you hear your prince just running up, and you're just like waiting, here he comes, and when he busts through that door, you get this slobbering, disgusting looking man. This is like, Mundo here to take princess. And then, the rest is history, hopefully. So, that's just pretty much it. It's a huge joke, and you can see. But his costume is very, nutcrackery. It's funny in that kind of aspect. I don't like the fact that his face is super, super ugly in comparison to his splash art, which just kind of makes it funny looking. But either way, it's all right on that. It's still, it's pretty ignorable. But anyways, all of his abilities get some kind of small effect. And as a bonus, they do get changed sound effects too. So his Q obviously is the cleaver, but it also gets a trail of ice behind it, so you can, call it, that's pretty good. It gets an, ice shattering effect when it splashes, and a sound effect too. The W is ice, and you can hear, the sort of ice whooshing about, the frozen wind of the tundra, and some crinkling every now and then. But yeah, and it also gets a pretty nice glow when it hits people. Plus, another thing I forgot to mention, the auto attack actually sounds different for once. Like a frozen sword. The other skins just kind of have the same, regular auto attack sound. Just clash, slag, whatever, that kind of thing. Anyways, W has frozen fists. They look a lot better. The other ones, you can sort of tell, where the glowing effect is supposed to be, and you can still kind of tell it here, but for the initialness, the entire hand goes frozen. So that's a huge step up. And now his ultimate, unlike the other ones, actually has one of the cooler effects I've seen in the game. So initial regular one, you can still see the glowing green glow effect, but now it makes him have this sort of, extra layer above his skin, sort of like a weird bluish glowing tint, and obviously a little whirling twister of ice healing him and whatnot. All the other skins don't have this, which is a huge boost. They all have the generic bubbly healing effect. So that, again, is massive, at least in terms of the quality of past Mundo skins. And of course, he also has a recall, which is, really funny. It's just like a little enchanted floating effect, and he becomes, I guess, pure, and heaven or the Disney heaven rejects him, and he's all like, "The hell was that?" So, it's a fun skin. I like this skin, though, just because of because of how Dr. Mundo skins can be a joke whenever you use them. I do like to switch it up from them. Between them. Alrighty then, so it's now time to put him on a tier list. If it isn't obvious, Toxic Dr. Mundo is at the very bottom. It's just green. Followed by Mr. Mundoverse, because, come on, he's just blue in a tank top. And that's just pretty much it. After that, I'll give it to Executioner Mundo, because it's actually really ugly. And aside from the jokes, hit me harder, daddy, that kind of stuff, it's pretty much just slightly better than Mr. Mundoverse. Yay. After that has to be Rageborn Mundo, because it's part of the whole aesthetics costume only kind of thing that Dr. Mundo has, and it's the best looking one. So anyways, right after that, it probably has to be Mundo, because out of the ones that only have the whole cleaver sound effects, it's the worst one of them. And it didn't age well aesthetically wise. Joke wise, the joke is going to be eternally funny. Dr. Mundo being too dumb to, buy anything but another Mundo skin. So there's that. But the TPA one basically has the same thing going for it. Obviously, a whole different costume, but it just looks a lot better. They actually worked on making it look good. And, legacy skin, whatever, that kind of stuff, and throwing a trophy with a twang, but it's only slightly better than Mundo. So just kind of lump them together. After that, I would probably put Pool Party Mundo and Luchador Mundo basically tied. They're very much kind of the same thing, but they're so which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the jokey one? They're both kind of jokey, but one is more jokey than the other one. Pool Party one being the jokey, funny, colorful one, or the serious, I'm kind of, manly Dr. Mundo skin. They both have visual effect updates. They both have sound effect updates. They both have unique recalls. It just kind of depends which one you like more, and they're both fitting. I think they're both kind of pretty much on par. I personally prefer Pool Party Mundo to use them, but, the Luchador Mundo just kind of has, it stands out a lot more. So they're basically equal, slightly leaning towards Luchador Mundo. Then after that, Corporate Mundo, hands down. It aged extremely well. The worst part is that it costs a lot, but it aged very well. It's still funny. The joke is still, fitting. Had unique effects for itself in some cases, and it's more just something just very fun. It's just hearing him say some really absurd lines. And for me, I just kind of like the fact that Riot had a really jokey side back then. And Corporate Mundo was a fan skin made. Somebody drew some really ugly crayon art with him, and then they made it into a skin. But obviously, as it wasn't already obvious, Frozen Mundo is the obviously best skin. Unique everything. I think Riot understood that for the longest time they were just making Dr. Mundo skins that were just costume changes with very little, effort put into just upgrading anything. I think they were very easy skins to make, which is probably why Dr. Mundo skins are very common in comparison to a lot of other champions. So they decided to go all out on Frozen Mundo skin. He has a lot of cool traits, and I already talked about them in length in his little own section. But yeah, the jump between all the other skins to Frozen Mundo is so massive, there's no contest. It's his best skin. But I think as a result, Dr. Mundo probably won't be receiving any skins for a while because, popularity contests, and they only really went out for him because, like as I mentioned, they might have felt bad about not going all out on him before. So, eh.